Five now, people.
Five.
Okay. Call it back to order then. And we are on 7.3 to the very best of my knowledge. Planning matters, community development, recreation,
This is
special rezone.
on this one.
Okay, last time I heard show there's on declared conflict.
Left the room.
Hmm?
It should also show that you left the room.
Yeah.
All right, so what we have today is a staff report on a request and proposal to rezone a portion of a lot near exit 6. And as we will see as we go through it, unfortunately, we have noted a sort of, I wouldn't say the last minute, but leading up to this council meeting, we've noted a procedural error that will likely require us to go back to the Municipal Planning Advisory Committee. So rather than doing first reading today, the recommended motion is to go back. So I'll just real quickly give a quick overview of the file itself because our anticipations will be bringing this back for first reading. So I'll go through all the details at that point. But just to quickly give an overview, as I mentioned, it's PID 604-22888, which is immediately adjacent to exit 6 near Hubbard's. The lot currently is split zoned with approximately half of it in the settlement residential 2 zone and half in the mixed use zone. I guess the easiest way to describe it is the front half, the half that's closest to Highway 103 is the portion that's settlement residential 2. And that is what the applicant, the property owner, is seeking to change. So they're looking to have the whole lot zoned as mixed use.
Yeah.
And their proposed development, although it's not required to be detailed as part of this application, what they're saying, their intent is to develop a commercial subdivision with a gas bar and similar related services to serve both highway traffic as well as the Hubbard's area residents.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds because we will revisit this issue.
Not finished yet.
And in general, so we've gone through up until this point, we've followed our standard process. We've gone through a public information meeting that we held in the community. We had great attendance. I think about 65 people attended that meeting back in early September. The comments and questions are attached here from that public information meeting. We also then had the Municipal Planning Advisory Committee meeting on Wednesday, September 21st. And this is where the procedural error happened. And unfortunately, we didn't recognize it until after the meeting was finished. So there is a motion included in the staff report here that did pass. It wasn't a recorded vote, but just for information, the vote was 4 in favor, 3 opposed. And the issue came in that the chair did not vote, and that is, I would say, practice amongst, as far as I'm aware, all or virtually all of our committees of council, where the chair had typically voted only to break a tie.
Right.
That thanks to a review from Dan, that was noted. And when we looked into it and spoke with Sam about it, it turns out that is an MGA requirement, and we actually have a fairly newly minted policy this year. So that was missed by us. That was our I'm the chair, in this case, was actually the vice chair, and he was filling in that night, which was great. So nothing against him. I'm sure he would have voted if he'd been aware that he should have voted. So because of that, and particularly because the vote was 4-3, if he had voted no, it would have tied, which would have failed the motion. And so procedurally, I think it's safe to assume that we do not have a duly passed motion from the planning committee in accordance with our municipal policies. And for that reason, I mean, that reason is in and of itself enough to go back, but particularly because there has been some public scrutiny of this file. And we
You better get it all right.
we never know, but there's always the possibility of a UARB appeal at the end, and this, in my view, would be a procedural error that we should address. So unfortunate. I have advised the applicant of that. They originally would have been here today to hear this part of the discussion and speak to council, but they decided not to come, knowing what was happening here. So in terms of one other piece I should mention as well. Because we have to go back to the Planning Advisory Committee, this is going to tip us past 120 days since the application.
We have to start over.
No.
Well, and there's a clause in the Municipal Government Act that says, if a land use bylaw amendment, which this is, exceeds 120 days without us getting to the point of advertising the public hearing, then it is deemed refused by council. We've run into this situation a couple of times here in the past over a number of issues, and also in Mahone Bay as well. And the practice has been to have council pass a motion to essentially, not sure, and Sam may or may not have input on the particular wording. I don't know if it would be to renew or extend, essentially renew the application for an additional 120 days without requiring us to go back to that public information meeting and completely restart the process. So, so the recommended motions here, if council agrees, would be to direct staff to return to the Municipal Planning Advisory Committee meeting to receive a duly passed motion, and then subsequently to also pass a motion to extend or renew the application for an additional 120 days.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Well, I was going to suggest it would be good to have something from the applicant
Okay,
asking.
confirming that they would like to renew.
Because the dean.
Right.
And then have council have the motion subject to them asking for.
Sure,
Approve the renewal of the.
absolutely. I can reach out to them and I'm sure get an
Can I
email.
offer a legal opinion?
A lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know that it works, but like Sam said, if the chair didn't vote, they actually voted no, whether they like it or whether they don't.
True.
So actually what we have from the Planning Advisory Committee is a no.
Is no motion.
No motion.
The motion failed.
The motion was defeated, so there is no recommendation
Correct,
from them.
correct. Yeah. Yes.
Do we need a recommendation from them to approve it?
No,
Good
and
question.
that's what my question was, because I'm looking at
Because-
right here where it says, alternatively, if council determines that they're satisfied with the current motion because I'm on that committee, a date for a public hearing may be set. So and I understand the committee's view, but ultimately it's the council's decision.
That's
So, I mean, we can take recommendations from them, whether the vote is yes or no.
they put a vote at no completely.
Well, that's right.
and
I
we
just don't want to
still
hold this up
override it.
and cause a lot of, for me, I'm fine with it.
So I think that we can still set the public hearing date.
I'm gonna just look to Sam on that one. I don't know. Honestly, this is outside of my wheelhouse, so I'm fine with that. That's why I put that
That's
in
why
there.
I'm giving you the legal opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a defeated motion, so that's it.
And the question I think is a good one, is does council need a motion, a recommendation? 100% correct. It could have been 7-0 and negative and council could still approve it.
That's
But the
correct.
question is, we don't have a recommendation, and is that in keeping with our policy and
Well, I think
procedure?
council has to consider the recommendation.
Right.
Or the failure of the recommendation. In this case, it'd be the failure of recommendation.
So we failed to receive a recommendation. It's still entirely up to us as to whether we move forward.
So if, I did come prepared for that, if council does wish to proceed and give first reading today, then the earliest possible date for a public hearing would be November 3rd, but I would suggest November 10th to give us a little additional time to advertise.
And I guess all I'm really suggesting is that if we any other direction that we may take has risks in it too, you know. You know,
I have a couple of questions stemming from yours, Mr. Ward. I'm not familiar with the bylaw on if the chair has to vote.
they have to.
The chair has to vote in the rule?
What if it is council the same as anywhere else? If you fail to vote, it's considered a no.
The chair has to vote, it can't abstain.
That's a no.
Or is an abstention considered a vote?
It's a negative.
It's a negative.
Abstention is a negative. Okay.
Yeah.
Has the composition of the committee changed since this happened?
No. And I guess for information, I'm not sure if it's relevant or not, there were 2 members of the committee that were absent that night. That's just for what it's worth. 10.
As long as you have.
Pardon me?
Am I wrong?
No.
I'm not on that.
No.
Just checking.
But yeah, but no, normally there would be 10 and there were 8
Okay.
that evening.
Okay. So,
It's just, do we want to run the risk and go back again? And to me, there's risks in that.
well, is there a risk? Because regardless of the recommendation, we can do what we feel. is
Oh, there's no risk if we do what we want.
Absolutely.
But if we fail to do what we do it today, I think to go back and open that door for people to try to interpret it differently may cause us risk.
I think we could move forward with motion two.
Absolutely.
All we're doing is going to public hearing.
I'm confident in that. We had the meeting. It's a recommendation, but we don't have to accept the recommendation as council. I mean, usually we do, but in this case,
We don't always do.
I thought it was approved. I thought the committee approved it because
We thought-
I didn't realize that
We
the
thought so too.
chair didn't need to vote. So in my
Yeah,
opinion,
and we're only going to a public hearing. Council is not making the decision. They're having the decision.
So question, so that evening, of the four, sorry. Of the four, in attendance that voted, yes, the two counselors were there and they voted, and you voted yes.
Yes.
Floyd,
Yeah. I've said quite a bit about it. To my area, I did attend all the meetings, the public hearing, the public meeting, the information meeting, and the planning advisory. My disappointment at the planning advisory was actually, I have a disappointment is that actually the people voted no didn't give me very good reasons for not supporting the request. I had a lot of meetings and phone calls over this particular request. It turned into, to me, this is a zoning request, zoning change, but it turned into more like a development agreement. Because the developer made a proposal, what he may or may not do there, and I really feel that conflicted it. Because all the issues that were brought to me were about a development, not about a zoning change, which I thought was wrong, because there's no commitment from that developer to do anything. He tells us what he might do, he might sell it for more money, I don't know what he's gonna do. I want to thank staff, because there was a lot of accusations made that they maybe didn't give a lot of information or come forth with good information. I totally disagree with that. Staff answered every question they were asked. And I think the confusion there was that people wanted to know about the development. That's not our job. We don't know if there's a development going to be there. I received quite a few people that weren't in support of this particular, not the zoning change, but actually the development, but they were mostly people from the lake area. So I did do a lot of phone calls and a lot of asking people in the public in my community. And I failed to find over 2 or 3 that really had any issues with it. They actually felt that was a great spot for it, was welcome to the community. I do respect the ones that were opposed to it. They came to my house, they put up good arguments, they had their own reasons. And I listened to them and I told them what I felt the community wanted. And I really feel that the community wants this project to move forward. And I go to the project again instead of the zone change because it's confusing to me. I think it should be about a zoning change, not about a project, but it is about a project now. So that's what it's turned into. So I have no problem with moving this forward. We're not approving it. We're going to a public hearing.
all we're doing is setting a public hearing.
Okay, that'll give people another chance not to kick the cat, and hopefully the people in the community that tell me they want it will show up that meeting too. Because that's the message I'm getting, is that people want the project to move forward. And I have another thing here, when I was at the planning meeting, they've acted that way for the last 10, 15 years. You know, and we're not gonna go back and change all those decisions. And we do have the right to move it forward. It's a legal thing to do, and I don't have a problem doing it, so.
So what do you need for a motion, Garth? Motion to?
That's public hearing.
So we would say, under motion 1, we would be looking at option 2, which would be to
Okay.
give first reading to the draft amendments to rezone a portion of PID 604-2288 from settlement residential to mixed use zone. That'd be the first one. And then secondly would be to set a date for the public hearing, which, as I mentioned, could be really anytime after November 3rd.
So we want to go
You
first
want
reading?
to go to the 10th of it.
The
Yes.
10th would be a
Yeah.
Thursday, and I presume they want to do this one in the evening.
Yeah, isn't November 3rd?
And
We're
it's
away.
about-
Actually, and it's at
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we need a motion to give first reading.
Motion to give first reading.
Seconder, discussion.
Question.
Yeah.
Have we determined that we're on sound legal grounds to do this?
Yeah, I had.
You're, Mr. Ward, you give us your legal opinion on that?
I've been sitting with you two for a long time.
Well, these are all advisory committees.
That's
We're not bound by advisory committees. We're not even bound to actually send it to the advisory committee. Council would have the option in some cases just to go.
Just,
Now, somebody will make an argument, yes, perhaps,
But
but that's,
if we assume, probably we shouldn't do, but that not raising your hand is a negative vote, and we can say that the vote was defeated. Am I right?
yeah.
Right.
So there's no recommendation coming?
No
forward?
recommendation.
Yes.
So council
Based
decides
on that, yes.
I'm in favor, but I just don't know if we'd be doing in favor, or in favor. If we proceeded with the fraud process, I'm convinced it's not a fraud process.
I am.
I think if you take it on the basis that you don't have a recommendation, well, one argument you could say, well, we thought we had a positive because it was 4-3. Let's say we don't have a recommendation. Then you've accepted that, okay. And then you're deciding to proceed.
Yes, even if it were a tie vote, I mean, we'd have to come to us to make the final decision. I'm comfortable with the motion.
They could have voted against it, really.
And we still would have had to decide.
Council still could just, I think,
I do believe, Mr. Warden, that your legal opinion is correct.
Well, that's why, like I said, I've been sitting with you guys for 25 or 30 years. Listen to this fat,
I think
40.
the key thing is the council is, it's considered or,
Yes.
the, whatever comes out of advisory.
And-
And you've done that.
To that point, the draft minutes are attached here, so
Oh, yeah,
in
we
terms
have-
of considering them, it is part of the package here.
And it happens for that.
Absolutely, yes.
So any further discussion? Do we have a mover and a second?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Now we need to set a date, and it's being suggested that it be.
Well, I'm open to, I would think we may want to do it in the evening, just given that there may be a decent number of public turnout.
Oh, it probably will be.
And so November 10th is a Thursday, but it certainly doesn't have to be a Thursday.
Fine with me.
Day before Remembrance Day.
Well, I'm getting back on the third, so I'd rather sometime, not the third, any day.
Well,
I'm
the
just
10th
just getting back.
I can do it.
We could do the 9th would be a Wednesday, we could do the 10th would be the Thursday. The following week.
I'm good for either one.
What do you have a preference?
Well, I never like working Thursday nights, but that's besides the point. I don't mind. It's the next day's Remembrance Day and it's a holiday, whatever.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me. Like,
I'm fine with any date.
I think we need to do it in the evening, just for public.
Yeah.
well, I do too, yeah.
I agree. And where are we gonna hold it?
Right here, there.
Yeah, typically we, trying to think, I think for hearings, typically we would hold those here.
We've done
Yeah.
both.
I guess, yeah.
We've done both. We've done them on site, like in the community, and we've done them here.
Here's.
We have enough-
Okay,
Whatever sets us on,
somebody, we need a motion to set a hearing date.
we hope to set the hearing date for November 10th.
And 6:30, 7?
Well, whatever we always do. 6:30, okay. So, seconder,
Second,
discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried.
So it's at 6:30.
Yes.
Should be in my calendar.
What's, everything's
Put it
somewhat
right in.
complex.
Yeah, and so I think that I'm right, that the council members need to attend a public hearing in
Oh, yes.
in order to be able to vote on the matter subsequent to the public hearing.
That is definitely correct.
6:30. Done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't I have other planning matters?
Not there.
Oh, not there. It's a different kind of plan. Oh, send Andre back in, yeah. Okay, Andre. we're on to 7.3. We've set a hearing date, just so you know.
Well, that should be.
Community development request to rezone, no. No, that's not it. We're on 7.4. Walking signs.
So there has been some interest expressed in community walking signage program. And so I just thought I'd bring back a report to council to see if there is interest in pursuing this idea of community walking signs. So just by way of a little bit of background, so our neighboring municipality, Municipality District of Lunenburg, had implemented a community walking sign a few years ago. And there was a fair amount of uptake and interest in that community. And there was also interest in other municipalities in doing something similar to that program. And so Hike Nova Scotia stepped up and had developed a kind of a provincial wide program and had received funding for it and all that type of thing. And so so from that, of course, the idea behind all those programs is to help educate the public, right? So we want to make sure that people have feel comfortable getting out in their community to go for a walk. And so I know obviously a lot of you would probably receive phone calls from residents in terms of speeding vehicles and people not paying attention and all those kind of issues. And so within our work on active transportation, we've undertaking initiatives like paved shoulders and those types of things. So we're doing the kind of infrastructure piece. And so the public education, just other programs we offer. And so this would be one option for that public education piece in terms of, trying to.
Where are these supposed to go, under lawn, like, or something?
Yeah, and so essentially, people, so this isn't for the shoulders of the road, this is for on private property. And so some of them that you may have actually seen, actually maybe even on your way in this morning. So there's a couple of signs that were produced by politicians. So politicians have done similar
Right now I
programs.
see them all over.
And so there's a couple of those up as well. So similar to those. Yeah, and so it's essentially encouraging motorists to slow down and remind people that it's that there are walkers in the community and they need to share the space with vehicular traffic as well. And so we brought forward a few options. We've done a little bit of research. I know Councilor Connors in particular was interested in this in her community and was interested in the provincial program, but thought that we would have a broader discussion in case there's other councilors as well that may be interested. And so a couple of the options would be for us to undertake our own program, develop our own kind of unique municipality Chester signs, or we could also follow through on the Hike Nova Scotia model and basically buy into that project as well. So in either way, it's going to cost the same amount of money if we proceed, because the grant funding for the provincial that Hike Nova Scotia program has expired now, and so they would share the digital files with us, and we could basically reproduce those same ones for our community as well. So I think that's by way of background. I think that kind of gives a general overview. So I think we'll just open the floor up to see if there's interest in pursuing this idea.
Certainly, thank you. So I'm absolutely interested, and my community, the Regional Development Society is prepared to move ahead based on today's discussion. So our appetite is there, and the fact that we want to see these to happen, and that, it's great if the municipality wants to, but we are going to do it. We think it's important, absolutely, and so it's going to be a decision that you all make. But that being said, that's probably why I had discussions with Chad and sat down with Nadine in particular, and offered up my information that I had gathered to date in my discussions with Hike Nova Scotia, and the wonderful offer that they actually made to New Ross, and the fact that they were holding, I think, 30 signs for us if we wanted to. And I said, I think it's bigger than New Ross. I do. I take pride in the municipalities' kind of wide programs and so on. So I have to get back to them as well. So again, we would have in our plans to make application to the Active Communities Fund ourselves. We've done one application already with the new Rouse rink, and so we'll do another one with this one too. So it's not like we're flush with money or anything like that, but we would cobble it together based on how Nova Scotia's offer, the community, active communities fund and so on. But again, I take great pride in across the entire municipality. Also too, my group has said they do not want political signs. So they do not want my face, no, I'm kidding, on the ones that we must do, or they don't want larger political signs. So, yeah,
They
thank
might
you.
want me on the sign.
Okay.
Just a question.
Oh, Andre has his hand up first.
So there were three options presented in this report. A custom sign that would be specific to the municipality district of Chester, join the Hike Nova Scotia program, or don't do nothing. And I think it's for those who want it, I think the cost is low, and having a sign program of some sort, it can't hurt, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think having signs around the neighborhood that don't have the vexatious political message would be even better. So, personally, I would like to see one that is specific to the municipality. I think it's nice if kids our brand out there as a community that promotes recreation and culture of walking and that way of life. So I think that would be in keeping with our mandate. So I guess that's where I stand on this.
Yeah, then he, and then
Yeah, I agree with all that, Andre, but something else, because of the petition in here, I think if we could expand it, maybe make a room for a bicycle community too. Something to do with bicycles around the Ascot Peninsula.
That's a great idea.
So, so that came up in some of our internal conversations, that it is, we want to be a walk-friendly community, absolutely, but we know we have a lot of cyclists, in particular on the Ascot Peninsula. So that could be, once we look at our own, we go the route of doing our own program, we could include cycling and walking as well.
The pictures of.
I could see a share the road kind of signage kind of thing in the same vein.
and Derek,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. I support this. I mean, I spoke on this earlier. I had two questions on the report. Implications bylaw policy. So it doesn't contravene any sign bylaws that we have.
that's what I mean, right where I was going after you were done.
Yeah, I don't believe it does. I can
Yeah.
do one further check on that. I don't believe that it does.
Okay.
I'll double check on that. And in particular, it's because the signs, like when an individual takes a sign, they're posting on their private property, so it's not, so they're not able to post it, on the shoulder of the, immediately adjacent to the road. It has to be back on their own property.
Yeah,
But I will definitely.
Because in the village, we only allow certain signages, like I know, and it doesn't matter whether it's on your own building or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I will double check on that.
And I'm also in agreement that they don't want political signs, but they don't want that to be a negative against Danielle. I mean,
Oh,
there's a
no.
Oh,
problem.
no, because she's done it because people asked her to. do
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
There was a problem, there is a problem, and that was one of her ways of trying to address it. I think it was laudable. It's not just down here, it's down in the city. A lot of the politicians in the city have these signs. What I don't like is that these signs end up in ditches,
Mhm.
right?
Well, yeah,
And
well,
so, and do we have any sort of rules on that or any? That's a concern, but I like this idea, but I didn't want to be negative toward what Danielle has done on her signs.
no.
I think she's made an effort and I laud that. I think that's laudable. One other question though, do we know if they work?
So that is an unknown. So we would have general feedback that we've heard from other communities, but
What's the sense? I mean, do they have an impact on the speeders? I mean, I think a speed bump would be better, but that's not gonna happen, so.
yeah, I think it's a tool, and I don't think that we would be able to, put any specific numbers attached to it. I think it would be, general feedback from the community, if they put a sign up does it have any immediate impact on vehicles traveling by?
Where I
don't
see
know.
this-
We hope that it would, obviously, but.
Sorry, Gary.
Not finished. I just didn't know if there was any.
Yeah, because where I see this, the signs now, the Danielle signs, in my area are mostly on the off-road. Not on the
Main
number
drag.
3, just in my area, I just observed from my area, right?
It depends on the public and who's interested in
Yeah.
participating or not.
Yeah, that's right.
And in terms of signs in ditches. That is one of the conversations that we had as well. And I guess at the time, when the signs are distributed, that we would ask people to take care of them. And if they're no longer needed and they want to return them to us, we will gladly accept them. Or they can, we would ask that they dispose of them properly if they do get damaged or those types of things. So that will be up to the public to follow through. If they take a sign, it's up to them to care for that sign. And if it does, especially coming up to the winter, if people need to be, take upon themselves to ensure that they remove them if they're damaged in this kind.
So you're suggesting that we create our own unique sign,
Include bicycling as well.
Yeah.
with our own wording, logo and design. So who do we have who's gonna do that?
So we would probably look at in-house. We have some in-house staff that could,
Love to
So we
draw.
could do that.
that would be our intention, yeah.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Ward.
I'm all in favor of it, and I even like the idea of the bicycles too, because it prevents us from going down the road that I think we might end up, and then we'll have to deal with again. And that's having too darn many signs.
Right.
So I just, so we're not there at the moment, but I think that once you start, it's like everything.
Mhm.
The next thing you know, people will want to promote this and want to promote that. And there'll come a point in time where
And this may only be effective for a short amount of time and for those reasons, yeah.
So I'm just putting that out there, but has we're gonna make these, obviously, we're putting bike lanes in and pave shoulder. So would it, instead of something like this, like sticking your lawn, is there something we could put in each district?
permanent signage.
Permanent signage?
Well, it's-
No, I mean, it's like what they got in New Ross, say welcome to Alders, welcome to New Ross. But to that effect, I mean, I don't know. Would that be something that would work?
We have so many different little roads.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about temporary signage like that is that it's novel. So you bring it in, maybe it moves around or whatever, and then it attracts some attention, maybe it goes away after a year or two, it goes, another one shows up somewhere else. That's what's nice about it. We actually have a share the road sign, a nice big one at the entrance to 329. But I think, I think when they first go up, they're noticed and then they become invisible after time. They vanish, even though they're still there.
Yeah.
Interesting signs.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm fully in support. It's just at some stage of the game.
We need a motion or something.
Well, to proceed, I think.
Yeah, we're looking for-
Do their own design, in-house design, and
But I want to just do comment, because in your comments, Alan, you mentioned having, were you implying that if we're gonna do a cycling sign, it would be a hybrid sign with the walking or?
no, I
these
think
distinct signs?
what my understanding is that we'll design the sign in-house, and it will not only suggest walking, but bicycling also.
One
Okay.
side.
Oh, okay.
One side.
I kind of wanted to have distinct ones versus.
Oh,
One for walking. I know I would put the place for one, not a walking one.
okay. Well, I didn't care. I just thought that's what you meant.
No.
Yeah, you don't want to promote walking.
I'm going back to what I said earlier.
So-
Now we're doubling.
I think there are places in our communities that are clear places that people walk, and like, for example, 329. It's not really a walking road, but
Okay.
lots of
well, I
cycling.
think Yeah, I just assumed you wanted it all in one time.
No, I think it would be two signs.
Okay, we can do two separates and then, yeah, sure.
Okay, somebody wanted to make a motion that we do it?
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. I think you understand what.
Yeah, that was it.
We do.
You don't like walkers?
My goodness.
Baby carriage.
You don't like walking? They don't.
Let's take one.
Walk at your own risk.
That's
Floyd's
like-
district, right, Floyd?
Okay, people, it's 11 o'clock already, and I thought this was going to be a relatively straightforward meeting. Yeah, 7:45, request for decision, corporate strategic management, board for printing services.
I've been elected spokesperson.
Okay,
We're just looking for a decision on the award of the RFQ for print services. We have 3-year contract. We have a few publications that we print on a regular basis, newsletter, waste collection calendar, rec guide, and business cards, things like that. So we usually put out an RFQ, and this time around, we received a grand total of 1 submission.
Makes it simple.
So it is from our existing, well, our contract expired, but it's the existing company that held the contract for the last number of years. They do good work, spoke with Gord and Chad, and they agreed. So we're just bringing it to council for your discussion and decision.
How big increase is it over the last contract?
It's not a lot. It's mainly paper that's increased, so it's.
Give us a number though.
Okay, for the. For the newsletter, for example. The increase is. Was 990 and, or 900, I think 970, and now it's 990 for the lowest amount. So it's the range is because we have an increase in residents over between winter and summer, there's like some play in the numbers. So we always get a quote between, we send anywhere from 6,000, 5,800 to 6,200, 6,500. So it all depends.
Andre,
Move the award the 2-year contract to Advocate Printing.
discussion. All those in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Great job, Jen.
you. Okay, 7.6. Appointment of inspector.
We have a couple of appointments that I would like council to consider today. And so one being the appointment of a new building official and administrator of dangerous unsightly premise that was hired by the municipality of the district of Lindbergh. Her name is Amanda Estabrooks, and she's a recent hire for them. And if council recalls the previous few new staff that came on at Mobile that we have as part of our shared services agreement that back in 2018, we all agreed that we would do that cross appointment of all of our officials.
Otherwise, they can't work.
Yeah, that's right. That needs to be done. And so we'd be looking for a motion to cross appoint Amanda for, as I mentioned, for building official, fire inspector, and dangerous and unsightly. And then further to that, our own staff, we have Brendan Mosier. And I mentioned that we would like to have him appointed as fire inspector and administrator of dangerous and unsightly properties as well. So kind of have the background in there that Brendan has been working with us for a while. He's now kind of up to speed and completed some of the training required to be at this point. And so we're just asking for council to make those appointments today.
Make a motion to approve option 1.
Second.
Can I have a question? I need to ask a question.
Discussion, yes.
Discussion, that's right. When you say as a building official, what does the building official?
It's building inspector.
It's a building inspector.
Yes.
Fire.
No, it's two things.
Yeah.
The building official didn't reign with me at all.
It's building inspector, sorry. It's just a
The official term.
different title. So yes, the official term they go by.
Because we hired a part-time building inspector earlier this year, or late last year.
Correct.
So we now have Trent, part-time. So how much time will we have for this person for building inspection?
This person will not be working for us unless required. So
Unless one of ours is out sick or we get a swamp of stuff we can't look
Yeah,
at.
so it doesn't help our capacity then.
No, not at this point. Only if required.
Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, I think I'm on infrastructure and operation, man.
Council, thank you for your kind attention.
I'm here to obtain the recommended motion that council want the purchase of 1 3/4 4x4 truck and 1 half-ton truck to Steel Chevrolet of Dartmouth. The request was put in and approved to council during the 2022-2023 capital budget for this year, and for both two vehicles, both 3/4 ton trucks, the total cost including HST of $85,000. Under discussion with our colleagues in Solid Works, they have determined that they required a half-ton truck instead of a 3/4 ton truck. So that's why there's, well, it's, they don't need the heavier equipment to do what they do down the line. We had 2 submissions, one from Steel Chevrolet Dartmouth and Company B. Steel provided quotes for the 3/4 ton and the half-ton. They also offered a trading value of $4,500 on the 3/4 ton truck, making their quote $54,950 plus HST, and the half-ton was $54,490 plus HST. Company B only quoted on the 3/4 ton truck. They didn't send any quotes in for the half-ton. We did include in the RFQ for quotes on electric or hybrid vehicles, but no submissions were given to us. So we are asking that council approve option 1 and allow us to award the bid of the submission to Chevrolet, Steel Chevrolet Dartmouth, for both the 3/4 and the half-ton truck.
Any questions?
One question, when is the delivery date? Once we've obtained approval and put the order in, then we will know when the delivery date will be. So it's dependent on when we get that order through to them. So that could be some months, yeah. Could be based on experience. Yeah, exactly.
Somebody prepared to move, we accept the recommendation.
So
Second. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Manny.
thank you very much.
Okay, on the last page. That's a good petition. Email to Susan Plank-Antrobino regarding bicycle lanes, paved shoulders, Highway 329, list names of people who signed petition, and as I had indicated before, there was 1 additional name.
So every few months, there's a flurry of activity on social media regarding the 329 and the danger and frustration between cyclists and motorists. This petition was generated from one of those social media exchanges, and it's been forwarded to our attention. I think that it's our role now to take this, and I'm sure it's already been forwarded to the province, but we can still package it up and send it on with our commentary that, you know, this is an ongoing need that continues to be raised by the residents of the 329.
It needs to be addressed.
It should be addressed, and we're unable to do it without their help.
So that's your motion?
It's a very long-winded, yes, if you please.
That's been seconded by Councillor Abdallah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, you can have it.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Meeting schedule. On your desk. Got any problems?
No.
So. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking there.
No, good. Well, you gotta look at it. I thought I looked at this before, but when we just set another meeting, like for the public hearing,
Yeah,
and the committee meetings don't appear on this, should they? These are just straight council.
these are council and committee of the whole.
Yeah, but not PAC and things like that.
Well, no, because we don't have a clue until council up and decides when, any given day when those are.
And then we get it on our computer.
Yeah.
I get it now.
So if nobody has an issue with it,
Probably it'd be helpful to approve.
I'll approve the
yeah, and we'll change them if we have to.
the committee meetings.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Corporate strategic management sponsorship update.
That's just a memo for information for council on our recent sponsorship that we had for Acadia First Nation, their Gold River powwow held in September.
Yeah. Then we can use the ability to approve it.
Yeah, that's
Just
it,
being
just
informed.
to make you aware, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Perfect. Okay, now, unless I'm wrong, I'm on to Tina. Glengarry, I think is first.
Get comfortable.
I am, it's gonna be a while. No, you get comfortable. It's gonna be a while. So Glengarry Road, it's typical of other other discussions that we might have brought as individual councilors to the table. It's the concern of the citizens around the condition of the road. And so there's been an organized petition that has took place over the past while, but it's recently been presented to our MLA to further it along in terms of what she as a representative will be able to do. So again, the condition of the road is of great concern to the community members, to the users, to visitors, medical response, et cetera. We are asking, the committee itself, and I'm just going to read from the petition letter possibly. Part of Glengarry Road, so that you're familiar, part of Glengarry Road is paved with asphalt, with the remainder being surfaced with lower quality sand seal paving. In the rare occasions, the low quality section is fixed, one winter of frost will quickly turn it into an obstacle course of potholes. And in recent years, sections leave us no option except holding our breath and hoping our tires won't go flat. This is simply not safe. This is the letter by the residents of Glengarry Road. So on behalf of the petition signatures, which I was second to the last of the signatories, the MLA was the last person that signed on that petition. So I would just be asking if it's the will of council to write a letter similar. And I pulled out my Lake Ramsey Road one. I couldn't find the one that Sharon had brought, I think, most recently, our letters that we typically do. So bringing it here to request that we consider writing a letter to the department, we typically do, to do a review, to take a look, to do a review of the road, again, regarding the current state of the road.
Make that a motion.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. You are on to the trail.
Yes, again, comfortable. So just wanted to note to everybody a recent event, and you might probably took notice of it in the rec guide. It was Mobility Day at Ruby's Trails in New Ross. We did this as a trails, and I say we because I'm a member of the committee, about 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago that we did this, and it was attended by 100 people on that particular day, and the signatures are in the guest book. I, at that time, was in charge of circulating the guest book. I did not do that this time around. Similar numbers of success, about 100 people. There were 97 or 98 signatures in the book, and maybe that person didn't do as great a job as me. I'm just joking. They did a better job. So we had a day of music. Jamie Younger was there, and others were there performing. We had food, refreshments, and it took place it was on the afternoon, again, a couple of Sundays ago. The first date was Fiona, the weekend of Fiona. So that was then we followed up with the second identified storm date. So that's why you always have for event planning, the second day, you don't always have a hurricane. We had a couple of new residents that moved to Chester Basin. They came in because they saw it in the rec guide. So it's nice to hear the feedback that we know that people read the rec guide, but they came in because they weren't necessarily on our Facebook page, didn't realize that we did cancel it that afternoon for Fiona. So they were there, so that was nice to meet them. So they came back the second week as well, so they weren't put out. We are seeing, and just generally, the trails seem to be seeing a fair amount of traction lately. We had some people there on Sunday that specifically said within the guest book that they noted it on All Trails Nova Scotia. So we, again, are putting that out there throughout the province and people are coming. I noticed last evening a post on Facebook, and I get that this is all one family. So, just because we're going to note some communities doesn't mean we're coming except that one family. We enjoyed our family Thanksgiving Day hike. It was yesterday. Thank you to the group. Members of our group were from Dalhousie, Cherryfield, New Germany, Bridgewater, Port Medway, and Amherst. This is posted by a teacher that teaches at New Germany High School. Also too, and I actually probably should get in touch with this group, Lunenburg County Hikers have noted that they do hikes. If you follow that Facebook site, they are doing hikes from one end. They've been to Castle Rock a few times, and they do around the province, but mostly the county, Lunenburg and Queens counties. I see that they have intentions to come in on the first Saturday of November. Probably should give them the heads up of both the massive amount of out to Poplar Hill Trail specifically, heads up on the massive amount of traffic that's right now happening in Colin Hughes's tree yard, because the first trees have been shipped out probably about 2 weeks ago. They're gone, so it's massive amount of trees and workers and vehicles. So we just want to make sure everybody is safe. Lastly, on the New Ross trails, the group has not been in. They don't think I can't recall. They've not been in since major project deliberation. So I believe that they're going to be coming in the near future to give an update on maybe some photos, some activities, some numbers, some testimonials from people outside of the community, not, again, anybody related to anybody or anybody that you can trace back somehow, but no, just some independent, heartfelt comments in terms of trail development. So that's my trails update.
Okay, go on to
New Ross Regional Development Society.
yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you knew that as a community, we've been working on an update to our strategic plan. I've mentioned it a few times. It's taken a while. We had COVID and their Chad has come in. I think it was 2 years ago now and facilitated the session, but it's taken us a while to kind of work through the layers. And we decided that we're going to focus on what we can do and do well, because like a lot of organizations, we have only so much manpower and so much money and so much time, if you will. And when I say manpower, I mean everybody. So late summer, we did finish the updated community strategic plan, and we decided not to go to print until we landed on and agreed to our new logo, because we've never had a logo. So we finally landed on that last evening. So that's pretty exciting for us. Again, we all have to have our excitement where we can. So we landed on that. We are very privileged that there was a young person in our community. He's from New Ross. He grew up in New Ross and he's continued to live in New Ross, but he's a graphic designer. He works in the Valley, but he's joined our team. And so then, what happens when you get somebody new on the team? You use them and abuse them. No. So we've landed on that logo. So now our copies will go to print. We certainly have, we've had a Christmas festival logo forever, and we're going into our 30th year for that next year. This year's 29. So we're working already on the plans for our 30th. So I just wanted to mention that. Again, that's my job, to update everybody here that is just sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting for updates from New Ross. So
I'd
thank
like
you.
to see the logo.
Well, other than the motion to
There's Glenn here. No motion
to
to
road, the rest was out and about to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it was over the phone. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Lloyd.
Yes.
Uniform signing.
You're out and about.
This is nothing about the uniform signage program. I just first of all, thank the council for supporting the pod project and staff for doing a great job. It's almost the end of the season. There's been a few little quirks and flaws into it, but that's why it was a pod project. We all expected that, but overall, I can say it was, in my opinion, a huge success. Very, very few complaints, more compliments, and I was shocked at some of the people that did make good compliments, because people that wouldn't expect them. But one of the issues we had was some of the signs didn't get put up because of contract issues. We couldn't get the new signage up in time. And to me, moving forward, if we do it in another area, we should leave the old signs up till those new ones are put up. That's just learning from the projects we did. But because some of those signs didn't get up this year, I'm gonna make the suggestion that those people who bought them, because of the delay, we don't charge the fee next year. I think it's only fair. They paid for the signs to be put up and they haven't been put up yet. I think we need to waive that fee for next year. I don't know if I need a motion for that. If I do, I'll make it a motion to waive the fees for the signs that weren't put up. That the fees will be waived coming up in the next season.
I'll second that motion.
I don't even know how much money we're talking.
It's $150 a sign. I think will be the cost. I'm not
It's
positive.
prepaid, isn't it? How could you charge again? They've already paid for it. You just
It's a
haven't-
$150 fee a year, my understanding.
year.
Maybe I'm wrong.
The annual fee, I believe, is $40, so it's
$40.
$150.
So we're waiving the $40.
$40.
I believe I'll have to check too, the 40 or 50.
Whatever it is.
Okay, well, if that, yes, if they shouldn't have to pay a fee for a sign that was not.
No.
No.
That's
Okay,
right.
That's just part of it.
move to second, discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried.
Again, uniform signage.
Oh, still the same topic.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I think the project, anyone who drives down there looks, it's wonderful.
It's fantastic.
It's
So
a-
we go by that the other day.
It's unreal.
So right now,
And I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna suggest, if we're gonna move that project forward, perhaps the next exit and the next ones, that we should start looking at that now, if that's the wish of council. I'm not suggesting they have to do it. I'm saying it's been a great success in my exit.
No, I think we should.
Yeah, I do too, but I think now's the time to talk about it, because you need to get the word out to people. You're gonna do it, the signs go down, if the new signs in order, that's a process go back, it would give them time to move forward.
So you're talking about your exit.
Exit
six.
Yeah,
So nothing has happened at exit 7 yet.
No.
Which is-
7, 8, and 9.
we agreed to do my exit first as a
As a
pilot.
pilot.
So it works. So how do we get exit 7 next?
We follow the same process.
Same process, just I would suggest make a motion at this table.
Do we just do exit 7 or can we do 7 and 8? I mean, where do we go?
I think we do them all.
Well, I think you get staff to take a look at what it would mean in all the exits, and then we may have to pick priorities after that.
Well, let's move it along. Because
We
this
may have
is-
to amend the bylaw. I think the bylaw just applies
To
to
the warrant.
yours, so then the bylaw amendment to extend.
Yeah, so they need to just take a look at it and.
Well, let's do it. What we have to do is make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's-
Well, obviously it was a success, so.
Well, making the
As long as you
assumption that
watch.
we want to actually, at the end of the day, want to do all the exits. Then we need a staff report on what that would mean.
How long is that gonna take?
Well, it's just another add-on to the list of things to do.
Well,
It's just-
Dan will get back to us and let us know.
That's right.
I agree, it is an add-on, but I think the timing is now to give us some time to move
Well,
forward.
like-
If staff doesn't have the time, if it takes longer, then. we'll have to-
Well, it may take longer, but I mean, if they start, if at least if it's on the list, they know. that
Well, let's get it as a
another
hopper and
thing.
we'll find out what the timing is, and then we can decide if we want to shuffle the priorities around.
That's right.
Yeah, so if council feels that this is urgent and that it must be done in the next month or two,
No,
then I would look at our, okay,
no.
that's important for me to understand, just how urgent it is.
I would think we'd want to get them up before next summer, my thought.
Or at least something.
Oh, boy.
Now, there you go.
Well, it requires.
Well, I'm just
a
thinking,
bylaw.
yeah, it requires a bylaw and there probably would be some engagements.
So if I
An
make a
engagement
motion-
process. I know we did a fairly extensive engagement with business.
Yeah, and I want to do the same thing, because it's a different group that handles
it's
like
always
chamber and all that stuff, and there's a few groups around, and I think that that will take time. I don't want to rush it, because I think that was part of the success in Hubbard's, is that we took the time and consulted with everybody and all that stuff, so just, I'd
We
be
didn't jump down
happy
the
today
throat,
if we just got it on the list, and then Dan can come back and show us where it is on the list, and then we could discuss
But let's look
what that all
at-
means.
Let's look at doing 7, 8, and 9, then if we're gonna be doing it.
Well, I mean, they could take a look at that. It won't take them forever, and it's not a big thing for them to come back and tell us, this is what you'd have to do in order to accomplish.
Yeah,
Can I
that's
make
all
it-
I'm asking.
Can I
Yeah,
make a
that's,
motion to change the bylaw, or do we have to give notice of changing the bylaw?
I want to hear from them first on what all that means.
Yeah.
It's not that I wanted it all
I think
done
we're just
next
giving
summer.
direction right now and then they'll
It's
need
just
motions later.
The bylaw change should come with implementation, because we don't want the bylaw in place, but we're not ready to.
Implement it, because then it would make everybody else tear their head
That's right.
when we don't have any other way to put it back up.
Yeah.
We just
Okay.
need to, we need a little bit of somebody to tell us, okay, if we want to move forward, what's that mean to us?
But I think, like Andre said, it's important to engage the businesses in the area, because that way they're not getting shoved down the throat. I don't know what the opposition was like for you, Floyd, was it not?
I had almost none.
Yeah.
But staff did meet with the
Yeah.
business association.
Yeah.
They were all aware of what was gonna
Well,
take
see,
place.
that's important, yeah.
And early on, like a number of years ago, actually, it was the business association that wanted to move that program forward. I won't tell you, there was no opposition. There was a couple of people who felt that their sign was the end of the world for them. And there was only, I think there was 2 actually. But I haven't heard back from them since. Everything seems to be going good. Their signage is up, those particular ones. The signage that come down, they actually moved because they were from HRM to HRM, to the HRM side, and moved their left signage. But they felt that coming off the highway was so important. But I actually said to them, why don't you come off the highway next time and sit there and see what you can read?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
25,
Yeah, it
40
is.
times there. You know, it's like 100 different signs. They're
Wow,
invisible.
that's-
They're invisible after all, but they look at
That's the problem. Okay.
Move the program. I think it's important that you let the businesses know. I think Chad, if you're right, we notified all the businesses of that and they have, it's a process that does take time.
Let's get it started.
So staff will come back with this is what this would mean, and here's the time frame or whatever. Okay. Derek, streetlights, can't remember if we finished that or not.
No, we did, just quickly. At the last meeting, there was a resident here on another issue, but at the end of her presentation said, I want a streetlight. And I agree on the comments, there's not enough street lighting. I just want to know what process we now follow to sort of follow up. Maybe I get some direction from Dan.
Don't.
You want a streetlight put in?
No, I don't, I want to know the process, I want to talk to these people.
Go talk to them and tell Dan and them that you want a streetlight put there.
No, I want to know what's going to cost them, I need some details, so I don't go cold.
It would just be added to your streetlight rate.
Yeah, okay. Dan, can we have a chat? You know, all how streetlights work?
I know a little bit about.
What do you want to know?
I would say one of
Talk
the
about-
first, one of the most important steps, I think, is to scope the work. And it's been our practice for the counselor to scope the work. So you would go out to look at the area that you wish to have lighted, and then if you identified that you needed 2 or 3 street lights versus 25 street lights. I think,
I've done that. Part of
Okay.
the problem with the first street that I asked about it there, they said, well, that's a private one. So who knows what are private and what are
yeah.
paying for?
No.
So we would have a team member in Manny's group that I think is probably our first point of contact for Nova Scotia Power.
Yeah.
And so probably we could request Nova Scotia Power to confirm the status of a streetlight.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to chat with you.
Yeah.
First step is really that scoping. So if you have that list,
Okay,
then
that's what I need to know.
Yeah.
I mean. We're not even under 4 years. I've done it for 10 months.
Yeah.
I never got involved with streetlights before.
Boys, it can be as bad as any of the other stuff.
Anyway, I want to follow up. I don't want to let that go by the wayside. I want to follow up. So Dan, I will work with you on that and someone to manage.
sure, then we'll get you to, get you to Manny's. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that's all the new business with the exception of one thing, which I absolutely forgot, and that is we want to have a little chat about this.
Yeah.
He just wants to run you through it.
Just really quickly, because I know, I spoke with all of you over the course of the last week. And so this is a stab at what I hope is a helpful tool for council to understand what each quarter's agenda is, primarily for those high priority items or urgent items. It's not all of our items. Case in point is today we had requests for decisions on the purchase of trucks, requests for decisions on printing, all those routine things. We wouldn't intend to try to forecast for you. It's really to try to make sure that our staff are focusing on the things that are most important to council. So what we've done is, so we've looked at our strategic priorities chart and kind of mined that and pulled out the things that we had already scheduled. We looked at council minutes and probably our ClickUp list of assignments and pulled the things that we thought you should flag for agenda planning purposes. Then we've organized it by proposed meeting that you would see those items. So a council committee of the whole, a workshop or other. And by department. So it's Chad's department, Tara's, Tim's, and then Manny's across the top.
Could just help me with the CDD and CSM.
What is that?
Yeah.
And IT.
Community Development Department is CDD, so that's
Okay.
Chad's team,
And recreation.
and Recreation,
Yeah.
yeah.
Corporate and strategic management is the orange. Finance and information technology is the green.
So IT is IT.
Yeah, and infrastructure and operations.
Which is.
So public works and land.
And CSM again was?
Corporate strategic management. It's the department name. There's, yeah. And so we've, so I think it would be important for you to look at this. And particularly if there's anything missing. What I also flagged is a section that I think we can start working with and hope that it's helpful for both council and for staff. We want to be focusing on the things that are most important to council. So we flagged kind of future priorities and put in the words confirm and schedule. And so they're not in October, November, and December. We may be doing some work on them, but it would not be our intention to bring them forward in the October, November, December timeframe, unless we pull a rabbit out of a hat or get an opportunity to complete them. So that's also organized by departments. And then what we would propose, like, for example, I'm not sure we'll put it on this list, but the uniform signage, I think I understand what council wants is maybe just a quick summary of what the next steps might look like in a proposed schedule.
Yeah.
That may be something that we can do quickly rather than a detailed request for decision or request for direction document. I have a sense, I think that would be helpful.
I think that anytime something kind of comes out of, I'll say, left field from this council table that hasn't been on our list of actions, I think it's not reasonable for you to commit to a date on the day that it's asked. I think a reasonable expectation would be then come back a couple weeks later and say, this came up a couple weeks ago. This is what we're thinking it'll take. This is what we're thinking we're going to schedule it. Do you have any issues? And then I think if we had that, I think that we'd all be successful.
Yes, well, that's what we're looking for. It's just to get some general idea for people that here's where we are, and if what you just decided today is your top-notch priority, people.
Well, that's right, but then 2 weeks later when you come, and if the timing isn't good, then we can have that debate.
Yeah,
What we're gonna draw.
yeah, because you know what's on it for the rest of the month. Yeah. So I think it's a good start.
Yes,
So thank you.
like that.
So people, unless I'm incorrect, there is nothing else left on the agenda. There is no in-camera matter. So I would be open for a motion to adjourn unless you want to stay.
So moved.
Second.